My name is Hannah, and I studied abroad twice. I studied in Ireland the first time and the second time in Chile, and I'm actually a double major as well, so I study media studies and global studies. I picked both programs because they were very flexible in the classes that I could take. As a double major, I have a lot of requirements that I needed to fulfill if I wanted to graduate on time. So in both programs, I could choose from the same courses that the local students could choose from, which was really important to me. And so I was able to fulfill all requirements while I was there. In Ireland, my typical day was just going to classes. I only had classes 3 times a week, so during those days I would walk about 20-30 minutes to class, and I would spend most of the day on campus, and then I was lucky to have Thursdays and Fridays off, so I was able to take a lot of weekend trips all around Europe, which was really nice, especially because there's a lot of cheap airfare and there's so many places to see there. So my week varied a lot depending on where I was traveling, but for the days I would go to class, it was basically just class and then come home, spend time with my roommates, and explore the city. In Chile, it was pretty similar. I had class 4 times a week, and I also had an internship on Fridays. So I would spend most of my day at class because it was pretty far. It was about half an hour on the metro. So I would just spend my whole day there, and so did most of my friends. So we would hang out in between classes, and I would also get to know some of the local students there. And I joined a couple clubs on campus. So that was nice. And then I was in Chile with UCEAP, and they set me up with an organization where I interned for, and I would help them with a bunch of different projects, and one of them was that they wanted me to have weekly English lessons for all the employees who needed them. So I had just like 4 or 5 regular students who came during their lunch, and I would just kind of teach them based on what they knew. They were all at kind of different levels, so I would have to adapt my lessons to what they wanted to know and what they already knew. So it was fun, and we got really close, and it was a good experience overall. I dealt with homesickness by just regularly keeping in touch with my friends and family back home. I was able to video chat with somebody most nights and just text throughout the day, although I did want to have a balance of being present in my time there and not spending too much time worrying about that. So it definitely was hard to strike that balance at times, but with the technology we have nowadays, it's pretty easy to call or text your loved ones whenever you do feel homesick, but you just have to remember to strike the balance. Yeah, so something non-touristy that I really recommend is if you're going to a local school and have the opportunity to join a club or a sport team, then that's something that really gets you to integrate into the community, and you get to know people from around that area. If you're learning the local language, that's also a really good way to practice. So yeah, just join that team or whatever club, and there's so many different things that you can do, so I highly recommend doing that. Yeah, so something really great about studying abroad is that if you're a financial aid student like I am, then your package will be adapted to the different cost of living of studying abroad and the additional costs that you may have, like flights. So I was able to get more financial aid than I normally would, and it was about the same cost as it would have been here in Berkeley. And I've heard that for some people it's even a better deal due to a lower cost of living and getting better financial aid. So that was one huge help for saving money. So a nice thing about saving money while you're abroad is that it's often, in many countries, food is cheaper, rent is cheaper, so that's one way that you can hopefully expect to save some money. But you also just do have to go into it having saved enough to sustain yourself from not having a job while you're there. So budgeting is important. You have to make sure you're not overspending, because it can be really easy when you have so many different things that you want to do and food you want to try and places you want to go. So just be aware of how much you're spending. It can add up to a lot, but if you are just aware of it as you go and keep a budget, keep a log of what you're spending, then it's definitely doable. So my major is global studies, so studying abroad is highly recommended in that major, and most people do it, and my focus is in Latin America, so that is a major reason why I decided to study abroad in Chile. So I got to know a lot about the Chilean history and the development of the country, which really helped when I came back to campus to give perspective and context to what I was learning here in Berkeley. and I also learned Spanish there, so that was another requirement of my major. So I never really thought that I would be able to travel as much as I have, but studying abroad gave me the opportunity to not only go to Ireland and Chile, but also to explore countries around it. So it really opened my eyes to so many different places and new things and cultures that I never would have learned about before. So in addition to just becoming more independent in general, I just know so much more about the world, and I know people from so many different countries, and they've all had a big impact on my life and my personality. So it has changed me in a lot of those types of ways.